Hello, adventurer. It's good to see you. You have made it to the morning grind.
Welcome, welcome.
It's the live stream at the beginning of the Geekverse, where we talk about all types of topics in geekdom, gaming, and fantasy, with an emphasis on being constructive and creating the things that we want to exist in the world.
It's all on the grind, Sizemore. Can't be too fine, can't be too coarse.
That's exactly right. There are a lot of adventures to be had today. Dungeons to explore and monsters to slay, and who knows what a random encounter might send our way. That's why we have to prepare, so settle in now for the morning grind with your favorite beverage in hand.
Tea? Or maybe something a little stronger. I've got a few bottles of the old Wynyard left.
Whatever you want. Pull up a chair.
Dude.
If you're feeling fancy, how about a cappuccino? Or a frappuccino? Or how about an espresso?
Just tea, thank you.
Sounds good to me, Gandalf. Whatever you want. I'm just glad you're here.
Everyone is welcome. You can just watch if you want. You don't have to worship anything you don't want to worship.
Thank you, Mike. But be forewarned.
Sometimes we get really strange characters around here.
Wait, what's that you say? Why can't you come and be a part of the stream?
My wife would disown me.
Oh no, I bet she'll be fine with it. Come on in.
Am I scared for my safety? No.
What are we supposed to do?
Everybody do the secret handshake.
Secret cultist handshake.
Oh, now do wizards who love each other.
This, my friend, is a science.
I still don't have gifts, but it's fine.
It's all on the grind, son. Can't be too fine, can't be too coarse.
Dude, this would be a sick place to bring the band.
Indeed it would be, Dave. It really would. I'm seeing more people coming in. Welcome. Glad to have you here. Oh, look, here's someone new.
Is this the cultist meetup?
Yes it is.
Come to hang out? Please accept me. I have nothing else.
Okay, we accept you. Everyone's welcome here.
Brought some snacks.
Well, that makes things even better.
You want some coffee? I don't drink coffee. You sure?
It's cultist coffee.
What makes it cultist coffee?
I'm a cultist and I'm drinking it.
Oh. Then I'll have some.
What exactly is going on here?
I'm seeing more people coming in. Welcome. It's so great to have you. Oh, and look, here comes another stranger.
Can we help you?
Yes, fellow cultists. I could really use some food.
Oh yeah? Welcome. We have donuts.
Oh, it's me. I'm glad I'm here. I'm sure you have a few questions for me, though.
What's your name? Who do you work for? What god do you worship?
Great questions, Rob.
I'm Steve King, and I worship Nyarlathotep.
No, not really. I'm just Heath, and I won't be worshiping anything this morning. But I will be your host. Welcome to the office. We're going to have a great time. I've got my coffee ready, because now it's time for the morning grind.
If you could become a fish, that would be amazing. Then I could command you with my mental fish powers.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Welcome to the office. Welcome to the morning grind. So this is going to be a controversial topic. Is that what people are saying in the comments? James says, James and I knows I got to write back to you. I've got many messages I have to respond to. I have been still just I'll talk about that here in just a moment, sorting 1,000 videos mode. And this project, I'm glad I'm doing it now because I could not do it. This is the limit basically of the ability to organize and reorganize 1,000 YouTube videos. And I've been doing nothing but looking at that. And I keep thinking that I'm almost done or, all right, then I'll get to this point, but it just keeps dragging on and on. But James says Heath woke up and chose violence. Spicy topic. So we'll see. Daniel says, this is a pretty spicy topic. I promise I won't start any fights regardless of people's opinion on the matter. I wasn't expecting that result. Okay, we'll see. Hey, Zero the Blade and Brett. Sable is definitely one of the really strange characters. Good morning, Isidro Laura. Forgive my cynicism, but is the writer strike really impacting your life? Are you asking me personally, or are you talking about, or are you giving a general you to everybody out there in the in the comments. I'm going to save that one. We'll talk about that in a moment. Spud, good morning, Spud. Oh, just throwing that out there generally. Okay. All right. So I've got a couple of things to talk about that. Oh, yeah, that's a good point. Hold on. Can we fix that? Might have to reset. Gotcha. All right. So first of all, like I said, I have been continuing to just sit here and upload videos and go through all this. This is going to be so much better. The video organization is going to be so much better when all of this is complete. It is going so much better. It's going to be so much better branded and such. But I just want to send everybody these links, and especially that way, if you have not seen stuff and you want to catch back up on things, or you want to catch up on the different shows. So this is the new Table Talk channel, and I'm also very proud of the. I've been working. One of the things that's been taking so long. One of the things is not only the organization finding the videos, getting them, and then getting them uploaded, which on this speed internet over here, especially when you're trying to do a Table Talk episode, which can be 4 or 5 hours long, has just been brutal. But then also I've been trying to make sure that there's consistent branding on the thumbnails, so that when you see some thumbnails that have a certain type of look, that they're coming from me and coming from a certain channel. And so I've been remaking a bunch of thumbnails because throughout the years, I mean, there's been such variety in different types of thumbnails, and that's no good. We need much tighter branding here. So this right here is the new Table Talk channel. Please do click over there and subscribe. I mentioned we see how much interest we have in their different shows. This will also help, because this way, one of my strategies, which had not been applied to the YouTube channel, because I went back and forth on whether or not to separate the YouTube channels or to combine them. But one of the advantages of separating them is that we're able to, I'll be able to see analytics more clearly across what type of shows are most popular. What kind of shows do people like? Is it Table Talk? Is it Dinner and a Board Game? Is it The Cultists? Is it so forth? So please do hit please do hit the like for the new Table Talk channel. That, or click that link, come over here, and please do subscribe to that. So if you're a fan of Table Talk, subscribing to this channel will be a great way to show that. So there's 5 different episodes right now up on Table Talk, I believe, as well as clips. 5 different clips from Table Talk. So this right here, please click there. Oh, we have a super sticker here, so I can see my super sticker. Oh, it's the diamond. Thank you. Yes, thank you so much for the yes. Thank you. Spreading positivity this morning. Positive Fandom says, looks good. I need to do this at some point. And there's, like I said, I've been spending about 2 weeks on this now. And basically all of my time has been going to it. But it's just something that, I can barely do. I'm glad I went ahead and made the decision. And then over here, yesterday, I was working on Dinner and a Board Game. So this is the new Dinner and a Board Game channel right here as well. So I'm going to give a link to this right here. Dinner and a Board Game channel. This was what I was working on a lot yesterday. The new Dinner and a Board Game channel. If you like Dinner and a Board Game, please come over here. I got the first 5 Dinner and a Board Game episodes up over here. And then I want to make some clips out of those too. But I really like the new look for the Dinner and a Board Game channel, the avatar, the channel art up there at the top, the new look. So you should be able to readily identify in a feed whether you've got a Table Talk episode or you've got a Dinner and a Board Game episode. This is going to be much better. So if you like Dinner and a Board Game and you want to let people know, well, and let me know, please click that link that was just in the chat. And subscribe to the channel, and maybe watch some videos. Maybe you didn't catch up on the first of the Dinner and a Board Games. These are all the re-edits here. These the early episodes. I re-edited them to improve sound quality and also sound and color. So I also made sure the latest versions were up here, and so they're the ones that will park. And hopefully, this is their permanent location now. And then also, this is the. If you are interested in playing games, I have not had time to start scheduling again for September because all I've been doing right now is working on those online tabletop gaming sign up, online or online board gaming sign up. I'm putting this right here. So if you're interested in playing board games digitally in the Ravenkeep Online Tavern, please click there. Especially Hero Quest. We need to get critical mass here of people who want to be able to play games, and that way, when we schedule games, people will be able, there'll be enough people to be able to hit different time slots and things like that. So we need more people. I'm going to be promoting that. I'll get a video about that out soon. But like I said, my whole internet has just been jammed up with the reorganization of all of these videos and channels. So. Hey, Robert. Hey, James. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Positive Phantom. Yeah, I think so, Brett. I think so. I used to not have, Brett says, looking good. The organization will sure promote growth. I think so, too. In the past, I tried this in the past, but I just did not have the catalog of videos. I just didn't have it. Now I do. Now I do, and it's taking so much organization. But I think it will too. I think it's going to be really good algorithmically and things like that. Good morning, Andrew. Positive Fandom. Oh, so Positive Fandom signed up for the board games. I saw your sign up. So she signed up. So please sign up for board gaming. Yeah, September. We might end up getting underway actually in September. And I got to come up with a better way to actually promote the schedule. So everything requires thinking. Everything requires time. Let's see. Let's go over here. I found this article to look at. I mean, we could go back and try to tell the history of what's going on, but I don't really see the point in doing that. Let's see. Let me get my window up. I had a couple of news stories. Found them. Oh, and by the way, before we get going any further, there's no stream tonight because I'm going to my brother's house tonight. Tomorrow, my grandmother is actually has a book signing. She put together a book, basically memoirs on her life, and she's got a book signing tomorrow. So my whole extended family is going over to her house tomorrow. But we're going to be there early. That means there'll be no stream tonight or tomorrow. We'll get back on. I got to organize a new dinner and a board game show. I still haven't done that because I've just been absolutely obsessed. The hours go by with the organization of the videos, but it's got to be done when I'm in that mood and in that mindset. But tonight I'm going to go over to my brother's house. Then we're all driving over to my grandmother's house tomorrow for her to sign basically memoirs. But we got to be there early and it takes a while to get there. So I will not be streaming tomorrow morning because I will be in the car over there going to her house in order to pick up her new book and have lunch with the extended family and such. So I'll post that as I can to the Discord server as well and remind everybody, hey, that might be a good time to check out the other channels if you're trying to catch up on something tonight or tomorrow. Okay, let's go over to, oh, thank you. So this was from a couple of days ago. Well, we can say here. So I thought this would be a good one to start with. Hey, Tomocrat. NTSL frontman. So Sable did ask, forgive my cynicism, but is the writer strike really impacting your life in a meaningful way, positive or negative? I guess for me, from where I am sitting, like just my day-to-day life here in the office and doing what I do, I would say that as of yet, it has not. Now, that wasn't true when the last writer strike came. What was that? When was the last writer strike? Was it 2000? Dates of was it 2007? I thought it was later than that. For some reason, it's sticking with me. I guess it was November 5th to February 12th, 2008. I actually felt like I think I remember feeling that impact a little bit more. And I think that was because at the time I still watched a lot of the, although the dates just seem to not line up on that. But I guess I remember that because there was the late night shows that were being impacted. And I think I still watched at least clips of those like online fairly regularly. And so it seemed like I was aware that the strike was going on a lot more because they had because the writer strike was impacting those. I don't watch any of that anymore. And I watch so much YouTube in general that I don't feel like it hasn't impacted anything that I am sitting here trying to view right now. Now, I think that it's possible that we're about to, because I mean, this has gone on now longer than the last strike. And it seems like there were so many different things in the queue, like movies in the queue and things like that had already been worked on by the writers, that we had a pretty good movie summer. Surprised, I had one of my favorite movie summers in a long, long time. So I don't really watch a whole lot of TV that has been put back. Even something like Ahsoka. Now I haven't watched Ahsoka yet. Doug is a big Ahsoka fan, a fan of the character at least. I'm not sure what he thinks about the show, but he was a big fan of the character of Ahsoka. And he asked me if we wanted to go over Ahsoka on Table Talk. He asked me if we want to do that last Tuesday, or actually move Table Talk from last Tuesday to Wednesday. But I had already prepped for Star Trek 5, and I wasn't going to be able to jump in and watch Ahsoka and take notes. So we went ahead and did Star Trek 5. But he's brought up the idea that we could watch Ahsoka. So that one came out. So if you're waiting for that one, I mean, that one already came out. I guess it wasn't influenced by the writer's strike. But it seems like delays might start happening. Although there isn't a whole lot that I'm looking forward to. Now, Dune, and I understand that's already delayed because of the writer's strike, and actors strike, the SAG-AFTRA strike, because I hadn't thought about until a few days ago that also means that the actors aren't going to be promoting movies. So if you have this major movie out or coming out and you want it to be promoted by the actors in it, well, that they wouldn't be able to do that. And I hadn't thought about that. So hence delays and stuff. So at the moment, because my viewing habits are so different, I would say it has not, but that it could. Inner Light says the writer strike generally affects my life positively. I remember during one in 2008, and the soap operas, which were written daily, got significantly better. And also, honestly, if the current writers are putting out stuff like Rings of Power, I'm looking forward to some passion-based writers. And see, that's where. I mean, I hear a lot of things like that. I see a lot of things like that online. I haven't been following ultra closely. I get Cameron's updates. Cameron sends out updates regarding the writer strike and, of course, his opinion and take on the writer strike on his Patreon. And so I get those, and I'm getting his side of things. It does seem like, and I suppose this may be what people want to talk about or why it's controversial, is I don't see that there's a lot of sympathy for the writer's strike. Oh, breathe and sip. Yep. 2008 was a big one, but now this strike has gone on longer than that one. Let's breathe and sip. Let's do that. I got ice water this morning. Really need it. 2 deep breaths. Exhale. And then take a sip of your favorite beverage. Here we go. And sip. Now, James also makes up a great point. It affects your aspirations, though, so it's worth paying attention to. Now, that side of things, it does. I was talking about viewing habits and things like that. That side, it does. That's why Brianna and I've been monitoring it, and Brianna I've been talking to Brianna about it a little bit during our Tuesday meetings because I'm like, okay, well, we're planning. Actually, we've reset our dates. Because of leases and so forth. But now the target date is to move out to LA in September. So that basically we reset a year. We reset our clock, which is good because that was stressing me out too. We reset our clock. But yeah, I mean, I was even thinking that, well, gee, like, is there going to be a Hollywood to go out to? Because I mean, there could not be. I mean, with this. So yes. So I am maintaining it for that reason. Yes, because what's going to happen out there? Because it seems like it could it could destroy the writers' union. If they don't do something, they could destroy the writers' union, which I guess overall is not good. JDM says it's not affecting me. I don't have cable TV and haven't been interested in many movies for years. Yeah, CSL Farman says, yeah, I still love Colbert and Myers when I'm working, but haven't seen them since. Roger, yes. See, we're not seeing the effect from the strikes yet because we're still seeing new releases. That will stop in about 3 months or so. Yeah, so we're still kind of getting through the backlog. Dune, yeah. So Dune is so far the only thing that would affect me, and perhaps the next season of my adventures with Superman. Sable Phoenix says, for this strike, the studios seem content to just let the writers starve. Maybe their AI screenwriters are farther along in development than anyone thought. Maybe. Well, Innerlight says, I thought most major actors got paid significantly. What are they striking for? Well, I think that your answer is in your question right there, Innerlight. Most major actors do get paid significantly. But what percentage of actors out in Hollywood are major actors? I mean, half, you're talking about, the major actors are paid extremely well. Is that the top 0.5% of actors? I mean, so the guild is supposed to represent more than just the top 0.5%, right? So I think that's it. The same kind of thing with writers. It's probably far worse than an 80-20 situation as far as, who makes all of the money. It's probably, the top 1% and less of actors probably make a lot of money. A tremendous amount of money, actually. And then the top 1 or less % of writers also do. But there's a lot more people out there than just the top 1%. But on the other hand, if Dune doesn't come out until March, it doesn't really affect me all that much. might give me more time to try to read the book. Maybe, I took a deep dive into AI a while back ago, and I specifically also wanted to look at it from the writing perspective because I want to know if it could write, like what it could actually do. And now what's available commercially, like as far as GPT-4 from OpenAI, it's not going to write you a script. It's not going to write you a script. Now, maybe they've got something else, maybe. But if that's the plan, I don't think that they can't write it. Ahsoka has not grabbed me the way I hoped it would. Many more episodes to go before I can make a real assessment. Well, that's the plan. See, Brianna wants to be a director. Like that's her end goal. So she's got to move out to LA. So she's out in Colorado right now. And she, wanted to live out there, but she's got to make the transition and the move to LA. And so she wants to move out there permanently. That's going to be her permanent destination. So we've been trying to figure out how to get out there. She's been trying to figure out how to get there specifically and was hoping to do it in trying to make the move in like June of 2024, but looks like it's going to be September of 2024 now. But I'm planning on going out there with her. I don't know that it's my final destination. It is so expensive. And that's why we want to have our scripts ready to go before we go out there. Because I've got a house here. I don't need to go out to a very expensive city to sit in a Starbucks to write scripts. I can do that here from my house. So that's what I've been trying to do. And then when we move out there, we just have the scripts ready. Because I know I don't know if it's my final destination. It'll be her final destination. But we got to move out there. The reason that we're thinking about moving out there is obviously to room together, to share some of the costs and things like that. I know a lot of people who go out there for like 2 weeks. all right, I'm going out to LA for 2 weeks and then trying to make something happen. Of course, nothing does. So that's why, like, she's like, I think that going out there for at least a year, you know, she wants to go out there permanently, but I'm thinking I'd be out there for at least a year. TSL Frontman says, I'm not sure which part of the strike isn't worth supporting. Their issues are undeniably valid. If you think it's just the AI, then I don't think you've listened to the writers. See, the thing that seems to be tripping things up that is not going to go anywhere is minimum staffing on shows. The idea that they want a minimum number of writers seems to be the one that's not going anywhere. Yeah, exactly. Most actors aren't major. Now, if you're in, yes, okay. So I don't have that. I don't have the connect. Well, you know, Cameron is clearly being affected by the strike, but I don't have contacts in the industry like that beyond really him. But if you're obviously if you're connected to the industry, of course, it's out here in rural Alabama. In rural Alabama, we don't have a whole lot of people who are in the Hollywood industry. Brett says it affects me in no way as I only watch YouTube and Stranger Things. Read the book. Oh, yeah, I know. Doom. Yeah, we've been trying to do that. And I've been trying to organize something for. We could either, you know, we could do it. We could do kind of like a read along discussion here on Morning Grind. We had talked about doing that on like General Geekdom when that was still a thing, or Table Talk. But we could do that here. I would like to be able to do that before it comes out. And also, I've got stuff I want to read before the second season of House of the Dragon comes out. Let me skip down a little bit. Yes, so Brianna will do well in LA. The Directors Guild just finalized their contract this summer, but she also wants to do writing. So she wants to be the director, but she also has been obviously writing her scripts. Well, I ask about that. Positive Fandom asks, what about the Atlanta movie industry? That's clearly closer to me. And I thought about since it was going to be another year to go someplace else. And so I've thought about Atlanta. Brianna doesn't want to move twice. So her final destination is LA. Now I could go someplace else, but I'm not. I built this house, or I didn't build this house. I bought this house and then renovated this house to get me to, you know, my writing done and stuff like that. So if I can make that work by sitting here, I will. But Atlanta is one option. There's a lot going on in Atlanta. And even, you know, I've got some friends in Louisiana who deal with that. You know, I don't know how much House of the Dragon is actually affected by the strike. That's a good question. I don't know. No, I know, but people go to Starbucks to write because unless you have a huge housing budget or an office, Starbucks is nicer than most apartments. Let's see. All right, so I saw this, and this is what made me think of the target. So let's take a look at this. So it says Walt Disney, Netflix, and their fellow movie and TV companies have released the terms of their latest contract offer to the striking writers. So Walt Disney, Netflix. There was an offer made, as I understand, and then the WGA rejected this offer, and then it was made public. Well, here's what we get. You know, here's what we were offering. And it seems like it used to be that the WGA would make public like why it was rejecting things and things like that, but it didn't do that. So the studio side of things just said, well, here's the offer. So Disney CEO Bob Iger, that's Iger, not Igor, like I had written last time accidentally. So Bob Iger and Netflix co-CEO Ted Sarandos were among the media executives who met with the leadership of the Writers Guild on Tuesday. What is going on with this? Maybe that makes it scroll a bit better. No, maybe not. It's awfully annoying. Subsequently, details the latest offer made by Hollywood studios and media companies to the striking writers were published online, including a guaranteed minimum length of employment, controls around the use of generative artificial intelligence, and wage increases. See, the length of employment is one thing, like on a show, when I was talking about, or a movie or whatever, like how involved you're going to be on the process versus like minimum number of writers you're going to need, which does seem like a weird thing, but it seems like a major point that the Writers Guild really wants. And it's just, and Cameron was talking about this too. It seems like that's one that you've got to give up on, but for some reason, it seems like that's a hard line for some reason. The move might indicate some frustration on the part of Hollywood studios, given the writers have been on strike since May 2nd, and actors joined in the industrial dispute in July. Negotiations with writers resumed this month in the first publicly referred to talks since the strike began. If an agreement is not reached soon, the strike threatens to disrupt the 2023-2004 television season and numerous high-profile movies, Benchmark's Mike Hinkey wrote during a research note on Wednesday. This is really annoying how this keeps flashing. The latest offer made by the Alliance of Motion Picture and Television Producers included a compound 13% wage increase over the 3-year contract and the agreement to requests on minimum staffing, although at a lower level than sought by the striking writers. Oh, I didn't know that. So there was some kind of movement on even minimum staffing. We have come to the table with an offer that meets the priority concerns the writers have expressed. We are deeply committed to ending the strike and are hopeful that the WGA will work toward the same resolution, said Carol Lombardini, president of, how do you pronounce that? It's not, I don't know how they pronounce that acronym, the AMPTP, but I think there's a pronunciation of that acronym. I don't know. In a statement released with the details of the offer. In addition to Netflix and Disney, the studios is representing companies including Amazon, Paramount, and Warner Brothers. The Writers Guild of America dismissed the offer as failing to adequately protect workers and said the increase of the details was aimed to cause dissent among its members in a statement published online. So this is the Writers Guild. The WGA dismissed the offer as failing to adequately protect workers and said the release of the details was aimed to cause dissent among the workers, among the members in a statement published online. It was a meeting. This was a meeting meant to get us to cave, which is why not 20 minutes after we left the meeting, the studios released the summary of its proposals. Well, it seems like it was a pretty reasonable offer, and maybe something about it isn't right, and okay, maybe not quite this, and but to have been to rejected it so fully, that seems like it's miffed a lot of writers. Because it doesn't seem like the Writers Guild is actually working for the writers, according to, it seems like, a lot in the industry. Is that the feeling that you're getting? This suggests the strike will drag on. The WGA has previously estimated that granting its demands would cost the industry around $492 million a year. Moody's Investor Services estimated potential new contracts agreed with labor representatives for writers, actors, and directors will ultimately cost media firms it covers between $450 million and $600 million a year. Okay. And then this is Deadline. WGA says the studio's latest contract offer is neither nothing nor nearly enough. So we'll see about that. Let's see what we're going around here. Andrew says it's true about people with the laptops out here in every coffee shop. They are writing away. Hey, Michael. The rabbit action figure prototypes. Those are staying with me. Good morning, Dungeon Master. Sable says, again, perhaps too cynical here, but given the state of entertainment in general and Hollywood in particular, I can't help but wondering if it wouldn't be better just let it all collapse if this goes on. But, I wish that we had, and I've said this before, but we've done a very bad job But some people say that's because it's impossible and can't be done for having any type of meaningful alternative. With board games, we developed a reasonable alternative kind of system. Board games, tabletop games, role-playing games, all that. We developed a pretty reasonable alternative structure through crowdfunding and all of that to larger studio, the larger publishers and stuff like that. And now we have this plethora, golden age, more tabletop board gaming stuff than we can ever deal with. We don't have that for movie or TV production. And I did talk to Paul Chatto about that subject, because he was originally, and that's actually on a Table Talk that will release soon over on the Table Talk channel. So that's another reason to go over to the Table Talk channel if you haven't seen my whole discussion with Paul Chatto. Was that last year? I guess it was last year. He was big at one time on trying to come up with what an alternate structure like that would be. And it could be the case that it just cannot be done because of the expense involved. And that basically ended up being his position. He said that you would have to, it's basically impossible to do independently in a meaningful way. And that's why it doesn't exist. But that it would require, so instead it would require somebody else to be on board. And he wrote out, God, I don't know if that got published or not, but he wrote out a plan and a structure. And I was talking to him about that, that YouTube could use in order to facilitate independent productions and set up that kind of independent structure. But then his channel and his discussions kind of went in a different direction after that, and he never really picked back up on the idea of the independent structure and how to facilitate that and how YouTube could facilitate that. But some people even said that when he was talking about that, well, gee, if YouTube isn't going to, the YouTube is large enough potentially to create that kind of structure, but there might be some others that could at least get it started. But the problem is the money. The money is such a huge issue. WGA says, just listen to Adam Conover of Adam Ruins Everything fame if you want to know the line of the Writers Guild. I expect those corporate outlets to slant the viewports toward the corporations. Sable says, I've done work as an extra, and the difficulty of new people to get into the industry and the vast cost of film production is almost entirely because of the union strangleholds. I was forced to sign up as a SAG member and pay union dues out of my minimum wage checks. I was doing it as a side gig. It was stupid. Let's see. Well, okay. So yeah. Well, of course, if you, I mean, is that what's happening here though? Because it was talking about minimum times on projects. I don't disagree. I feel bad for my friends in the industry, but once they began ignoring their primary function and began pontificating, it was doomed to failure. Dungeon Master says, my experience with unions at places I've worked for has been nothing but positive, but I'm not saying that necessarily means anything. Yeah, see, that's my, like, when I'm have dealt with unions in the past, that's the kind of situation that on a film set, if a stool needs to be moved, you can't do it yourself. You have to call a grip over whoever has that particular function specified in their union role. That was how it was at the university, too. Scrolling down here. Well, okay, so we've talked about JDN. JDM says, not for movies, but we do have alternatives to TV. Heath, you're it. YouTube. I watch YouTube like I used to watch TV. Well, me too. And this is an important discussion to have, like, which is exactly it. I posted some kind of video. I have to find it. But it was basically on this subject saying that YouTube is the new entertainment, that we've shifted for so many people the kind of stuff that we that we watch as far as our entertainment goes. By far, I watch more YouTube. A lot of different podcasts, like video podcasts, like Table Talk, I guess, that we've started. But yes, so there's a lot. I watch a lot of that. And that by far surpasses my movie or my TV watching. But that doesn't mean the movie and TV watching isn't important. And, for so many people, like there are a lot of channels out there that are basically all review channels and often channels that are very critical of current media. So, so in those cases, it's almost like watching that show. Well, like, okay, if we wanted to do Ahsoka, watching like the discussion is going to be on YouTube. And it could be hours and hours and hours and hours of discussion. I mean, I don't know how long Doug and I would go at it with Ahsoka, even though I know he really loves the character. But okay, you got like Doug and I go at it. But then, of course, I know like the thumbnails have been sliding by my feed for the last couple of days since Ahsoka came out. Obviously, there are a lot of people. There's hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours of material on YouTube discussing Ahsoka, right? From probably a bunch of different perspectives, everything from probably the deep dive to the very superficial. And so if you want to be part of that conversation, kind of like your ticket to entry to that conversation is watching the show, and seeing what it is and then seeing what everybody is saying about it. Now, you don't have to watch the show in order to get it, but the show has to be there. Like for them to discuss the show or the movie or whatever, it has to be there. So that's the seed, that's the catalyst that's causing all of these other hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours of entertainment, probably thousands of hours of entertainment on YouTube. Not all of it is great, but apply the 80-20 rule, the top 20% that people watch. What do you do if that's not there? I mean, that was the kind of the way that it was. I felt that way when the Book of Boba Fett, when the Book of Boba Fett was coming out. I remember after the Mandalorian season 2, I was into The Mandalorian. I mean, I thought it was a fine show. I was glad to be back in the Star Wars universe. And then I had the teaser for the Book of Boba Fett, and I was like, oh, well, that's cool. I want to watch that. But then I was busy, and when it came out, I wasn't just sitting there and watching it. But I was watching all of these videos scroll by YouTube about the Book of Boba Fett, and it just seemed like it was a complete roller coaster. Oh, this is great. Oh, this is not great. This is great. It's not great again. It just seemed like this huge roller coaster of a show. And I was like, I wasn't watching any of it because I was still like, I do want to watch Boba Fett. But then it was like, I'd better watch this now. So I had to binge the whole season up till like the final episode one Sunday as I was sitting here in the office doing something in order to get in on that conversation. So I agree that the talk shows basically on YouTube are a huge source of entertainment now. They are for me. But it sure would be nice to also be able to do something like for instance, to have like the cultists be more viable. That's what I'm talking about with an alternative subject. By the way, I'm going to take the cultists and put it on its own channel as well. And I'm going to relaunch there on its own channel and see if we can attract some more attention to the cultists. Because you could do it if you had a viable method to create more things like the cultists. And if you're not familiar, the cultists is my Lovecraftian comedy web show that I put out. It's got 2 seasons. Each episode's like 6 to 8 minutes long. We got 2 10-episode seasons. It's about Lovecraftian cultists in the modern day world. It's like a mockumentary style thing. So I was really trying to also, not only was I experimenting with learning how to do production, things like that with the cultists, but I was like, is there some kind of viable model here for creating web shows? And how do you do that? And I thought there could be. I mean, I kind of had the business plan, the business model down, but it does require a lot of money. Not nearly as much as like, creating the Marvels or whatever it is that's coming out now, or Ahsoka. And of course, it depends on what you're doing. And of course, as technology increases, the cost comes down. That's what I was trying to talk to Paul Chatto about. It's like, what then could we not talk about independent kinds of productions? Like we talk about a whole bunch of independent productions over here on the tabletop and gaming side of things. And I was trying to come up with a show to talk more about independent film and production. That's what Film Threat was supposed to be. Film Threat originally was talking about independent productions. And when I was talking, I did get to speak with Chris Gore briefly, and that was about the time the second season of The Cultist was coming out. So Chris Gore and I did speak. And that was before Film Threat had really taken off on YouTube, because he was still doing most of the Film Threat material, because that's what the Film Threat magazine was about. The Film Threat magazine and such was about independent productions, right? The problem is you got to have some reason for people to care about independent productions, right? And as it seemed, as Chris was trying to get like YouTube going, what did people want to hear about from Chris Gore? Did people really want to hear about independent productions that are going on, or independent movies or things like that people are working on? The answer was no. What did people want to hear about from Chris Gore? People wanted to hear Chris Gore talk about Star Wars, because he went viral on Film Courage, right? When he was talking about, gave very good analysis. I mean, I thought, and a lot of people did, on Star Wars. Also, like this video on the death of Spock. It was about the death of Han Solo, but included the death of Spock and things like that. Fantastic insight and commentary. So what is it that people wanted from Chris Gore? They wanted Star Wars commentary and modern movie commentary. So, he shifted after that. He shifted a few months after we spoke to do more mainstream commentary, right? And has been much more successful with that as far as YouTube viewerships and things like that goes. I've seen, he's just been skyrocketing on that. So he's, he found that, but it wasn't talking about independent productions. It's talking about mainstream movies and reviews. I mean, now he's always doing the, whatever has just come out, recently. And like he even did like the Star Wars on Trial and stuff like that. So I was thinking, Paul Chatto and I had talked about the show Independent Tonight, that was going to be like a focus on that, on independent productions. He thought that even that needed to be a very high budget show, though. I thought, well, gee, we could do Independent Tonight, and we could do it as kind of a low budget kind of show. We're used to discussions on the internet like this. We could do this. I can't do another show. I'm tapped out. I can't do another show as I am right now. If I had more people, then maybe we could do more shows. I can't do another show right now, but I did think about folding that idea into Table Talk some nights, because I would like to, if we've got people on Table Talk, because it's, also creator focused and things like that. If we've got people who are creating independent films, especially short films or something like that, to watch that on Table Talk and then discuss it with the people involved afterwards. Kind of a trial run for what I would have done as an Independent Tonight kind of show that focused on independent production, and then so people would go and see it. That was because Paul Chatto was talking about this is quite a diatribe. I understand here. The impetus there for a show like that was Paul Chatto was saying, and I think he's correct, that it's not just the film production. So if you're trying to get underway as far as independent production goes, well, okay, let's say that we did manage to pull off an independent production house that was a studio that was going to be able to produce different things. You're still not situated inside of a network like Hollywood is, that also is the whole gamut from the conceptualization through the production to all of the promotion and things like that. So like if you're doing a major film, well, you send your actors on like the Tonight Show, or the late night talk shows and things like that, where you see the actors, they talk about what kind of movies are coming up. It's promotional for those kinds of movies. Even if you have the independent production studio, you're not situated within the context of all of that other machinery. So you'd have to build out all of that other machinery. And so he was talking about what we needed was like a Tonight Show. We called it Independent Tonight, that everybody should look at. That like, this is the place to come. That's like your late night show, but it's where you talk about upcoming things and things that are out in the independent kind of sphere. I thought we could do that more like how I do Morning Grind and Table Talk. But he thought that no, it's got to be able to reach mainstream audiences, and mainstream audiences don't watch a show like this, our format, like our StreamYard streaming format. So Paul Chatto thought. I still thought that maybe there are still a lot of people who do watch shows like this. But he thought that in order to actually reach a more mainstream audience, it needed to look like it was, the Tonight Show or something, in order for people to take it seriously. So we did have that disagreement. We'll see. He's probably the one that's right. He's been in the industry much beyond that. But because we can't just, we need to have material to talk about. And we do have that on the tabletop and gaming side of things. If we don't end up with quality shows to talk about, and plus, just things like Star Wars, Star Trek, they were such an important influence on my life. I would hate it if they went away. Those kinds of things didn't come out. Could be Rumble, yeah. Well, it did, but we don't have for certain kinds of content, for certain types of shows, certain kinds of shows fit the YouTube format great. No, I do. I don't like using that word. I try not to use it. Good morning, Retro Nerd Girl. So, so people had mentioned, well, gee, if Paul Chatto has this plan and YouTube isn't going to do it, Rumble is probably the next one to think about. And Rumble should hire him then as an executive to try to get that process off the ground. Yeah, do go sub to Retro Nerd Girl and Positive Fandom, both of them while they're here. Yeah, Barbie hit the nerve. Barbie hit the nerve in a big way. Yeah, the studios did bring you Barbie, and obviously that the people loved it. Well, see, but also, who has time to watch TV nowadays unless you're actively reviewing it on your YouTube channel? But that's also a major time commitment. People don't realize that. That's one of the reasons. If you're going to do, let's say you're going to do like one of these deep dive 3-hour shows into something like that. When I'm reviewing or doing a discussion or deep dive or whatever you want to call it, like with Star Trek 5, I already know Star Trek 5, but I still watched it 3 times before I had that discussion with Doug. I watched it once, just ordinary, and then there are 2 other commentary tracks, and I watched both of those. So I watched that movie 3 times before I sat down and had that discussion. So, if you're talking about the time we had this problem when I was doing General Geekdom. When you're talking about time to produce a show like that, you're not just talking about, gee, just sit down at YouTube in front of your computer for 2 hours or whatever and discuss a movie, except for you got to, especially if you're going to the theaters. Like if I'm going to the theaters, it's a 40-minute drive to the theater. So, and then back, so you're talking about over an hour just in transit time. Plus you got to sit through all those stupid previews and commercials for 30 minutes. It's a time commitment. Is it worth it? Andrew says, Film Threat Magazine. I haven't thought about them in over 20 years. Glad they're still going. Magazines are a tough racket. Yeah, I don't know if the physical magazine is still published or not. I don't know. But it's obviously still a website. They publish like a magazine style website and then have their YouTube channel as well. He said, Chris Gore said that he would come back and talk to me when his documentary was out. He may not remember that. But he's got out it's Attack of the Dock. Actually, he was talking to me. He was doing a couple of different projects because Attack of the Dock is out, right? Which I have not seen, but it would be fun to talk to him about. But actually, he was doing a documentary about the creation of Film Threat. He was doing a documentary about the creation of Film Threat, which seemed pretty neat. And that's also cool from the business and entrepreneurial perspective about how do you get a magazine about independent film and stuff like that off the ground. Well, yes, good for him for listening to the audience. So yes, so that's what you do. So he went where the audience was. He was able to turn the battleship and go where the audience was. So that is a major plus. So that's huge. On the downside, that means that if there was somebody who probably could do something with independent production, that tells you something about the state of discussion about independent discussion and stuff like that. If he couldn't get it to work, I'm skeptical that other people are going to be able to get it to work too. Let me go over here and just see what this is before what this article said before we go back to the comments and talk. Oh, there's a lot here. Let me just see what this was about. So this was about what the WGA said. The WGA Writers Guild said Wednesday that the latest counteroffer for the new contract is neither nothing nor nearly enough. In a message to its members released today, the Guild said it will continue to advocate for proposals that fully address our issues rather than accept half measures like these offered by the companies. In its latest offer, August 11th, the Guild said that they remain committed to direct negotiations with the companies. The strike is now its 115th day. But as far as I know, like I know somebody in the chat was talking about, well, we need to hear this from the Writers Guild, and yes. So, but as far as I know, the studios made their offer public, but they didn't. But the Writers Guild, has made statements like this, but hasn't really made public its reasoning, detailed reasoning as to why. Like, this is rather than accept half measures like these. If we have a more detailed kind of thing that was a breakdown, because I think you can read the entire offer from the studio online. I don't think you can read, as far as I know right now, or as of like last night or something like that, like a complete breakdown from the Writers Guild as to why each one, point by point or something like that. In today's message, the WGA concedes that the companies have come closer, but not close enough to meeting several of the Guild's demands on several key strike issues. On the hot button issue of artificial intelligence, the Guild said, we've had real discussions and seen movement on their part regarding AI protections, but we are not where we need to be. For their part, the companies, I'd be interested to know more about that. For their part, the companies have confirmed that because generative artificial intelligence is not a person, it is not a writer or professional writer as defined in this minimum basic agreement, and therefore written material produced by generative artificial intelligence will not be considered literary material under this or any prior MBA. So, of course, that's been a big deal. And also whether or not something written by an AI can be, it's the source material. Like, like if you got the Lord of the Rings, you can be handed the Lord of the Rings book and say, hey, here's the book. Here's our source material. We're writing a script for the Lord of the Rings. Here's your source material. I remember it was a point like, can you hand me something from an AI and say that's your source material? And it seems like the studio is saying, no, okay, we can't do that. The WGA, however, says that companies continue to refuse to regulate the use of our work to train AI to write new content for a motion picture. Is that something the studio is? Companies continue to refuse to regulate the use of our work to train AI to write new content for a motion picture. Is that the studio or is that other tech companies? I want to know more about that. Minimum staffing and duration of employment for members working on TV rooms is another strike issue too. See, it's the staffing. So didn't they change something about the employment duration? But the staffing does seem to be something that's a problem. Minimum staffing, like, because even like Cameron was saying that, like in some cases, the showrunner writes the entire show himself or herself. So if the showrunner writes all of the shows, which television is the writer's medium, they say. If the showrunner writes the episodes, and it's his show, why should he have to hire a minimum number of writers? They wouldn't have anything to do. That doesn't make sense. So why? I think that's the case. Like with Cameron. Cameron's been writing the scripts to his show that he's trying to get off the ground. So if Cameron is sitting there with all the scripts that he's bringing to get the show off the ground with, and he's the showrunner and he's the writer, why would he be required to hire on a minimum number of writers that don't have anything to write? That part seems weird. That seems like a weird sticking point. Now, duration of employment, to get things away from the gig employment, that once you're on a show or you're on a movie, that you're not just there for a couple of weeks and then off. I mean, you're on the show. I mean, I get that. I mean, I get the concerns over AI as well. Like I said, right now, I don't see something like GPT-4 as it is commercially available being able to write you a script. I tried really hard. I tried lots of all kinds of different ways to try to see to see if I could get Chat GPT or GPT-4 to generate a good script. I could not. It was this long way away. It can do some things to help you with writing tasks, but it cannot. It was not writing you a movie. Here, too, the companies have made concessions after initially saying the Guild's proposal amounts to a hiring quota that's incompatible with the creative nature of our industry. In its latest proposal for high-budget SVOD and paid television series or serials, for instance, the studios have countered that the showrunner may select at least 2 writers to be employed, together with the showrunner, for a period of at least 20 consecutive weeks in the writer's room, but not to exceed the duration of the writer's room. I know they're talking about also like trying to make, which I think is a great thing, as far as like your residuals on shows, I think is an important issue, that streaming services are so black box that you don't even know who's, watching things. How do you calculate residuals for streaming shows? There needs to be some way to audit that. I mean, I get all of that. I get all of that side of things. But this doesn't go far enough for the Guild, which says today that the companies introduced the notion of an NBA guarantee of minimum staffing size and duration, but the loopholes, limitations, and omissions in their modest proposal, too numerous to single out, make them effectively toothless. Okay. Too numerous to single out. Okay, so, all right. So we don't really know what that, to me, that's not too much of a rebuttal. I like personally, I would like to know more about what. We're not afraid of a deep dive around here. We're not afraid to single out numerous things around here, but okay, they didn't. So okay, I'd be very interested to know. I'd be very interested to know point by point what the response is. And with respect to transparency, the Guild says the companies say they have made a major concession by offering to allow 6 WGA staffers to study limited streaming viewership data for the next 3 years, so we can return to 2006 to ask once again. So we can return in 2006 to ask once again for a viewership-based residual. But in the meantime, no writer can be told by the WGA about how well their project is doing, much less receive a residual based on that data. See, I think that's a concern that, like, you should know that. You should know that if you're going to be being paid by residuals, you need an auditable way to determine what people are watching, because it's a different kind of model. I mean, it's definitely a different kind of model, and a lot of people, it seems like, don't understand that. Like if you're looking at general Reddit comments or something like that, why should you be paid a residual anyway? Now we can get into that if we need to here in the comments section. But a lot of people, I think that on the whole, they are definitely fighting an uphill battle with the general public, the perception of the general public. Now, that does not mean the general public's perception is right. Like, especially when I was reading like people's complete lack of understanding of getting royalties or residuals on creative work and stuff like that. It seems like the general population has no understanding of why that happens or why that's important, and use some terrible, terrible analogies as to why that is. But, educating the population of the United States is not an easy thing to do. The companies have also agreed to a guaranteed second step for theatrical screenplays, meaning that when a company initially employs a writer to write the first draft of an original screenplay, it'll be required to provide the first writer the opportunity to perform a rewrite at no less than the applicable minimum compensation, which is apparently something that used to happen a lot more, but now doesn't. So they're trying to get that back. The Guild, however, says that this would only apply to a statistically tiny category of screenwriters, excluding all but the first writers of original screenplays. So a guaranteed second step for theatrical screenplays. So I guess that's not TV. Like that wouldn't apply in this case to like a streaming pilot, I guess. So I guess that's one of the issues. The Guild has also demanded that writing teams be entitled to receive full pension and health contributions, and here too, the studios have made a concession after initially rejecting the idea and refusing to make a counteroffer. But under AMP's latest offer, teams of 2 writers would receive P&H contributions as individuals, but the Guild says notes that this would not apply to teams of 3 or more writers. Read WGA's full message below. Okay, here let's go down to this. This is the full statement. As promised, here's a more detailed explanation from where we are in negotiations. On Friday, August 11th, after a 102-day strike, AMPT gave us the counteroffer they publicized Tuesday night, August 22nd. The Guild responded with our own counterproposal on August 15th, and there were discussions about a few issues on Wednesday and Thursday last week. On Friday, August 18th, late afternoon, Carol brought us in for a session that lasted under 10 minutes and consisted of companies making 2 minor moves on TV shows. On Monday, the call came to meet with Carol and 4 of the CEOs on Tuesday night, August 22nd, with an indication the companies were finally ready to get serious about bargaining for a deal. As we reported, the basic message of that meeting was the company's first and only counteroffer to the WGA since the start of the strike made 11 days before was and had to be the basis for the only deal they are willing to make. During the meeting with the CEOs, we spent 2 hours explaining that though progress had been made, the language of AMP's offer was, as is typical to that body, a version of giving it with one hand and taking back with the other. We repeated what we said since day one, that our demands have come directly from the membership itself. They address the existential threats to the profession of writing and to our individual careers, all caused by changes to the business model implemented by companies in the last 7 to 10 years. We stressed that we could not and would not pick and choose among those threats. We have not struck for nearly 4 months struck for nearly 4.5 months to save ourselves, nor are we leaving any sector of this guild unprotected when we return to work. We are willing to negotiate within these areas, but every existential issue must be a genuine solution. Okay, so is there more in here? Many of the current deal points they have put forward, minimums, SVOD, residuals, AVOD terms, are from a deal negotiated with the DGA more than 80 days ago. Okay, here are a few examples of the areas they made proposals that are not yet good enough. Okay, let's see what these are. Then we'll go back to the comments. In screen, they have proposed a second step, but only for a statistically tiny category of screenwriters, excluding all but the first writers of original screenplays. They dismissed the concept of weekly pay. Okay, so they want that, I guess, like I said, to move to TV show pilot people and everything else as well, so that if you have a second shot, if you send in a screenplay, you have a second shot at revising it to the studio's liking. They can't just dismiss it or not have you write a second one. They have seated selected but insufficient minimum terms for some, but not all Appendix A writers in SVOD. For example, while comedy variety is covered, game show writers, daytime writers, and all other Appendix A writers are not covered. That's minimum terms for some, but not all in the SVOD. Okay, in television, the companies have introduced the notion of an MBA guarantee of minimum staffing size and duration in TV, but the loopholes, limitations, and omissions of their modest proposals, too numerous to single out, make them effectively toothless. Okay, members of 2 writers would receive P&H contributions as individuals, but not teams of 3 or more. We have had real discussions and seen movement on their part regarding AI protections, but we are not yet where we need to be. As one example, they continue to refuse to regulate the use of our work to train AI to write the new content for a motion picture. I want to know more about that. Actually, we're going to take a deep dive one day. I got to get notes together. I want to get some notes together. We're going to take a deep dive into AI. I'll probably get notes together and we'll talk about that on the morning grind. But then I also want to find somebody to talk about that on Table Talk with and have a real substantive discussion on generative AI and its impact on creative individuals. That seems like I'll have to know more about what they're trying to do that, because it seems like a strange thing to be talking to the studio about. That seems like a tech company thing, but I need to know more about that. We're going to do a deep dive into AI. Finally, the companies say they have made a major concession by offering to allow 6 WGA staff to study limited streaming viewership data for the next 3 years, so we can return in 2026 to ask once again for a viewership-based residual. In the meantime, no writer can be told by the WGA about how well their project is doing, much less receive a residual based on that data. And so, yeah, I mean, so if that's not where the streaming stuff, now, on the other hand, it may be the streaming stuff is not doing very well. One reason they might not want to show that is because right now they control, like, if you had like the ratings company for cable TV or something, okay, then your ratings are more public. Whereas if you're watching something on a private streaming service, they don't have to, I mean, like Disney doesn't have to report how many people do or do not watch any particular show. Because one thing, it's possible that you get that data and then you realize that it's actually abysmal, that you actually realize that viewership is abysmal. I mean, who knows? Like major YouTube channels could be getting a lot more views than somebody, watching one of the major shows. in which so the streaming services might not actually want to show that data. And then on the other hand, once you've got that data, the writers may be like, oh, crap. We were expecting to see gigantic viewership numbers here, and man, we are being cheated out of a lot of money. Money that we would have gotten if this had aired like on a broadcast way, when you would have gotten residuals when it's broadcast or something like that. But now with streaming, hey, all this streaming, they're watching it, and then they might not be. They might not be. I don't know. All right, let's see. Okay. Chris uses his larger platform to push independent projects when he can fit it in. Yes, and he and I did talk about that, and he has been advocating. He advocated for the other channels that he's connected with. He's connected with a lot of the larger review channels. And he said when I was talking to him on the Film Threat podcast that he had advocated for other reviewers to, like, what he said, that they needed to start like a day, like once a week or something like that, where all of the major YouTube channels, instead of talking about everything that you don't like, he was saying that they needed to champion something, And so he was proposing to try to get some type of something going on with the major review channels, that like everybody on Fridays or whatever, on your Friday video or your Friday stream, probably a Friday stream would be better. Like if you stream once a week or whatever, let's make a section of that championing some type of independent project that we all think is good. Like if they all coordinated that, so it was the same kind of project, so that you actually got eyeballs on some type of independent project that they wanted to promote once a week on a stream or something like that. So Chris Gore was also trying to promote that across other YouTube channels, and he said that he didn't get anywhere with that. that didn't go anywhere, and I understand why that is. I completely understand why that is, because audience is so important. Audience and branding is so important. You can start with if your audience is expecting you to talk about every day how much you don't like Star Wars, if that's what's you're tuning in every day, your audience is talking about, your audience wants to hear how much you don't like Star Wars, they're not going to stick around and listen to you when you say how much you like this other independent sci-fi film. A few will, some will, but that's not what your audience is there to hear. So that does matter. I can talk to some of my friends. I know script supervisors and directors and producers. No one behind a camera, but I can see if they'd be interested in. Well, I got to get in touch with you anyway, James. That would be neat. Booking stuff. Film Crush. Chris G talked about the issues with modern film on Film Crush, and independent films have always been niche, except for Sex Lies and Videotape I'm featuring next month. We need to somehow get Shadow and Viva Frey together. There's a way to connect entertainment with Rumble execs. And if he's still interested. Let's see. Looking through comments here. Yeah, advertisers. You need advertisers willing to speculate on short-term readership to start a magazine. Talking about starting Film Threat. It seems like it was a fun story. It seems like it was a fun story that actually got that off the way. And I like that kind of thing from the creative perspective. And I don't know anything about making a magazine. I don't know anything about starting a magazine. So I would like to talk to more people like that on Table Talk who have gotten something creative off the ground. JMS wrote Babylon 5 almost entirely by himself. No writer's room. Okay, Adam Conover is one of the negotiating people. He has lots of discussions on YouTube where he elaborates on the guild's demand. All right, then we need to check those out. So this is where you need to go. Thank you for this. So that's the place. Yeah, see, we're going to get into this. Like I was reading the court and the court because there was a court decision that came down between the last time we've talked about AI on this channel and now. And I was reading some of the material on that, and I'm still not seeing the issue. People always say that. People always say that. Like I said, when you talk about something about AI generated, and they go, "Oh, it can't be copyrighted." That's like the instant thing that people say. Oh, it can't be copyrighted. Like I said, for some reason, if you say I'm going to use public domain works to illustrate my book, people don't go, "Oh, it can't be copyrighted." Oh, don't use public domain. If you use public domain works in your book to illustrate it, it can't be copyrighted. You can't copyright that. Yeah, I know it's the same thing, right? I know, but for some reason, if you say AI, whatever that triggers in people's mind is they immediately go, "Oh, it can't be copyrighted. It can't be copyrighted." Well, there's a lot of things like public domain work can't do that. But if I talk about public domain work, people don't jump in immediately and start saying something about copyright. People go, "Oh, that's a great, that's very interesting thing, Oh, let's see what you come up with." So we're gonna go into the AI thing and what its copyright status is in depth. FYI, most people who can write the show by themselves can do that because they were in a writer's room in their learning years. Killing the writer's room equals killing the future of writing for movies and TV. Well, if you don't end up with something, you could completely be right. Because if nobody trains in here, so you don't end up with anybody who can actually write shows, then you may be sacrificing the long-term health of the industry. Sure, absolutely. It's not alive yet. All right. It's not like that. Oh, I like this. Oh, I need to add. Because I've been trying to, or one of the things that I just started yesterday while I was in the middle of a massive amount of uploading was I need to rewrite the intro to Table Talk because it's changed since I wrote that. I created that intro to Table Talk, and then like the next week, Doug started becoming a regular on the channel. So I've got to fix that. But I need that line. I want that line. I'm going to see if I can work that line into the into the Table Talk intro. In fact, let me make note of that. Where was I writing? Where was I? Table Talk script. When we do a deep dive, we bring hard suits. I like that, Sable. Well, I don't know about that. Writers rarely ruin a show or a film. It's the company heads that make ridiculous demands like airing episodes out of order or changing an ending. Well, something like that sometimes happens, right? But yeah, the writers can they definitely ruin it. You say rarely, so we're talking about the amount of time, but TV shows are written differently. That's why, different organizationally. The rewrite clause is a big deal, James says. TV shows are written differently. That's why. Yeah, I can't see that being like I can see if it were a pilot. If you're pitching like a new show and here's your pilot, maybe that's where I'm going. As far as going, like I can't see every episode because it's a different kind of situation, and I do not know it extremely well, but that is a different kind of thing. But if you're pitching a show and you've got your pilot, like the pilot's been solicited, like especially if they solicited a pilot from you that you get a rewrite, I can see that. Yeah, SVOD is Netflix. Subscription. Okay, thank you. Subscription. I know VOD, video on demand. Subscription, video on demand. Thank you. Control being tied up in the black box is bad for everybody but the controller. They should publish them. They never will, but they should. Check out the costs of WGA proposal at the... Okay, let me bring that up because I did see this down here. Well, we'll do it then. We'll do it. Check out the cost of this proposal down here. Costs of WGA proposal, percent cost of revenue. Company Disney annual cost, annual revenues, cost, percentage cost of revenues. So this is saying, this is who wrote that? So who does this come from? Is this what the WGA didn't say somebody was? I'm sure they're different projections. We read someplace where it was saying the WGA was estimating this amount, somebody else was estimating this other amount. But regardless, So it's Disney's annual cost, 72, Netflix 65, Amazon 31, Sony 24, Apple 17, and then talking about annual revenue of the company, 82.7 billion, cost of revenue 0.088 percent, Netflix 0.2%. I can see 0.1%. Apple very low. None of the companies exceed 0.5%. Looks like it's so even if their estimations are different, like the highest one here is 0.2%. So we're talking about none of the companies that exceeds 0.5%. Okay, now see, but immediately the question that I have, like if you're talking about annual cost and you're talking about Disney, if you're talking about Netflix, okay, what are Netflix's sources of revenue? I mean, this is just the immediate question that I have here. Netflix sources of revenue are what? It's subscription, obviously, to the Netflix service. What other sources of revenue does Netflix have? It probably has some licensing revenue, right? Like if somebody wants to make a toy out of one of its Netflix shows, okay, there's probably also some licensing revenue. But like when I look at Disney here, Disney has sources of revenue that are beyond like Disney Plus. So I'm sure that somebody would counter here. If you're writing a show for Disney Plus, we don't need to be looking at the entire revenue of all of Disney, including things like ESPN and all of our theme parks that we've got going, and all, just everything else. Like Disney's revenue sources would be extreme. So I'm sure that somebody would say, like, unless this is the annual rate, like surely it's 87. Like 87 isn't just film and Disney Plus. So this is interesting, but I need more information. It seems like streaming platforms are holding the actual view numbers close to their chest. My instincts as well that others maybe they are embarrassing numbers, but their subscriptions are where they make the numbers. Zero the Blade says, this is why I don't understand America on why they complain so much about something they have no say over. I work for a school system, which is worse. Well, that's why I didn't do, we do our deep dives, but that's one reason that I did not want to get in on the YouTube thing about, hey, let's be often critical on whatever exactly just came out, because life is better when you realize you don't stress out about the things you don't have control over. Like I don't have any, like if you're upset about Star Wars, I don't have any, I have no control over Star Wars whatsoever, So yes, I can be very upset about it. And I can think about that for hours every day, as I'm listening to streams or I'm making new streams or something about how horrible something in, I'm just using Star Wars as an example, but whatever it is, Game of Thrones TV show or whatever it is, those later seasons, whatever it is. You can spend a whole lot of energy on that, on stuff that you can't change. Those are, IPs in the hands of other people. And I said this a long time ago. I said, what's going to change is money. That's why I like to be focused more on the constructive side of things and the making things and the building things side of things, because I can control what I'm going to make and what I want to make. I can control that. And so making new stuff, but I can't, I love Lord of the Rings and the classic Tolkien, Lord of the Rings. I also love the Silmarillion, love the Hobbit, but I can't do anything about whatever somebody else is going to do with Lord of the Rings. I have no control over that. It's out of my hands and inside corporate hands now. It's aggregated. Everything aggregates to the point I can't do anything about it. So, life is better when you realize, well, I just can't do anything about that. So the amount of time that I want to spend on things like that is little. TSL Frontman says the relevance of cannot copyright is that studios have finally been told how much they can't replace writers while keeping the IP. less relevant to public domain than Pride and Prejudice. I know I'm talking about what people shout at me. So yes, so now it depends on. Well, we'll take a deep dive into this because yes. So if it's true, if we got to the magic point where forget the script, right? If we get to the magic point where the only person that Disney needs, as far as its film production goes, is Bob Iger. Because I mean, that's what people are afraid of. That that if Bob Iger can lay off all of Disney's TV and film production side of things, and it just needs to be him sitting there with a computer. And sometimes Bob Iger's like, you know what we need? We need another Indiana Jones movie. Computer, AI, ChatGPT, please generate a next installment of Indiana Jones, and then an hour later or whatever, the whole film's ready. I mean, forget the script. That's step one. That just give me the whole script. What's the copyright status of that script, or what's the copyright status of that whole movie? If you can just type it in and you can get the entire thing generated for you, and the only person who has to work in Disney's film and television production is Bob Iger himself, because the entire thing is done by AI. We did, yeah. Okay, I lifted the like. Okay, well, thank you, everyone. Please, please do hit the like. You may want to let it dry off a bit. Ghostly Karma says, very true. Don't stress over the stuff you can't control and create the stuff you can. There are 21 watchers and 1 like button. Come on, y'all. Share some love with your friends, with your thumbs. All right. Well, is there anything else we need to say? I want to keep following this. And as it was brought up that so Adam as Roger was saying, look up them. So that looks like that's a great thing to do. I've been following what Cameron says. I think there's a lot of issues that are important that they're dealing with. On the other hand, I hope it doesn't destroy everything by the time that it goes through, because I think there are serious issues here. So hopefully, but it does seem like from some people that the guild is not handling the situation in a way that some of the writers would like. So the writers are only going to get more stressed out as this goes on, I think. So we will see. Hopefully it comes to resolution and we can get back underway. All right. So no stream tonight because I'm headed to my brother's house. No stream tomorrow morning because I'm headed to my grandmother's. So I'll post in the Discord server. Also, and I need to post just to the YouTube community chat as well. Tonight and tomorrow is a great chance for you to catch up on other things if you're looking for things to watch, such as the new Table Talk podcast channel. If there are things in Table Talk that you have not watched yet, Table Talk, I'll put those links right here. Please do go over there and sub to those channels. The new Table Talk channel is right here. And then also the new Dinner and a Board Game channel is right here. So if you are looking for Dinner and a Board Game tonight, perhaps one of the earlier episodes would be great for you to check out. Dinner and a Board Game over there on that channel, or an earlier Table Talk as well. Still fantastic conversations that you might not have seen tonight. And then also tomorrow, hey, there might be a Table Talk. There might be a Morning Grind you haven't seen tomorrow, that you need to check up on tomorrow. So I will be working over here for a couple hours. Then I got to get ready to go to my brother's house and start this travel weekend. Thank you so much for being here with me. I have really enjoyed the conversation. These are often some of the best morning grinds when people have different opinions and discussions and we talk in the chat. I really enjoyed it being here with everybody. So I will see everybody Sunday morning for the next live show. Later, everybody. Be creative, be constructive, and grind on.